Okay, so it's 1:05, so I think we can get started. We still have a couple people trickling in, but that's okay. All right, so welcome everybody. My name is Devin. I am the program manager at NGO CSW New York. I manage a lot of the virtual portal for the NGO CSW Forum. And so I'm gonna lead this training. So this will be recorded. As I said before, this is being recorded. It will be posted on our YouTube channel and disseminated through our mailing list, and this will also be available on our website as well. We really want people to use this training recording as a resource, either if they weren't able to make this training today or if you need like a recap on some things. So this will be very much available to you after today, and same with the rest of the training events that we're doing in the next few weeks. We will have a Q&A session at the end. So if you could just hold your questions until then, or if you want, you can send them in the chat and someone from our team will be able to answer, hopefully. And with that, let's get started. So we're just gonna have a little welcome from our chair, Hudi Gudelakian. Give you a little overview. Over to you, Hudi.
Thank you, my queen. Well, you all know none of this could happen without Devin. So thank you, Devin, for your patience, for your just intelligence and demeanor on how you're managing all of this. First of all, there are at least 10 more people coming in as I speak. So I'm going to speak slowly to take my time so that people are in and settled in. I don't know if you are all aware, we have about 750 parallel events scheduled. And this is why I give so much credit to Devin and my team who actually helped go through the applications and accepted them. There were only a few that we could not accept, and that we have our mandate to follow, and that's one of the reasons why sometimes we have to reject some events. But I just want to thank all of you who have been patient with us. As you all know, NGO CSW New York is 99% volunteer. As chair, I am also a volunteer. Most of my executive committee is volunteering, and the parallel event committee actually were all volunteers. So this was a lot of work on our part, but we do it passionately because we love to see all the amazing applications and the work that you're all doing globally. And we want to make sure that your voices are coming into the UN. So I'm happy that we're able to do this. And I thank my team again if they're on this call. And I want to thank Devin and the interns as well for their patience with the emails. I know many of you didn't get your notification because most of it went to junk apparently. And that was like kind of easy to say, check your junk. Sorry, junk email. and I'm glad that we've answered almost all of the emails. So if there's a few emails that we haven't answered yet, please be patient with us. I know a lot of you are already asking for changes. We want to accommodate all of you, but the only reason I'm speaking right now is to beg you for your patience and understanding and be kind to our staff. We are all in this together. We want to make sure that this year, not only we show up with numbers, because last year we were all amazed and surprised on how many people wanted to be involved in CSW. So many people are coming in for the first time. And this year we're upping the ante a little bit and telling member states, it's not just numbers. We also want to make a difference in the outcome document, in our advocacy. You will hear a lot more about advocacy later. We're not going to waste time on that today. Today is all about parallel events, which is why I'm saying thank you, welcome. I'm so happy you have parallel events on our portal. Just be patient with us and please pay attention to instructions. One of the things that we noticed last year is that, and I'm the first guilty person. Like, you know, I get something to put together from IKEA. I don't read instructions and then I pay for it because it takes me 4 hours longer to put it together. What I'm saying is that Devin has done an amazing job with FAQs, with PowerPoints, with videos. Please take your time to listen to all of those. She was even kind enough to add this live training. So I thank you again for giving the time to train us live, but please pay attention to the instructions so that we don't have to repeat everything and we just don't have enough staff and time to really pay attention to all. So we're doing the best we can. Again, 111, I'm done. Thank you, Devin. Thank you all. I'm here. Please save your questions for later. I'm going to pay attention to any questions in the chat and answer whatever I can, but I'm not as smart as Devin. So we'll wait till after the training. If there's any questions we can't answer, we'll give you a chance to question it then. All right, the floor is yours. Thank you all. See you later.
Thank you so much, Hudi, for that little overview, kind of foundation of where we're at right now in the process. So let me share my screen again. Okay, so today, this is just a little overview of what we're going to be talking about. So we will look at what the event page on the portal looks like, what it has, the features it has, and then we'll talk about participant engagement with your event, how they get to your event, how they join your event, how to register. We'll talk a little bit about using your own virtual meeting platform, meaning like Zoom, Google Meets, WebEx, etc. As you all know, parallel event organizers are required this year to provide their own virtual meeting platform. We cannot provide one this year, but it's a lot easier this way for you guys as organizers, so don't worry. We're going to go over making changes to your event. We're going to talk about safety and security at your virtual event, and we'll go over some other resources and links where you can find those, and then we'll move on to the Q&A and take all your questions. All right. So first thing I'll show you is what your event page on the virtual portal will look like, and what features it has. Okay. So sorry, my Wi-Fi, of course, right before this event decided that it wanted to go so slow. So I apologize for that. But here is what your event page will look like on the portal. So you'll have a description of your event. You can embed links. You can also add graphics to this as well. And at the bottom of every event page will be this event link. This is where you will click to actually access the event. And we'll go over a little bit more on this later. But for example, this event, sample event, has a registration link. So attendees would register here, get an email with the event link, the link to join the event at the time of the event, and that's how they'll register for your event. The page also has a list of everyone who's registered, a list of speakers, and this cool discussion tab. So this is a really great place for y'all as organizers to send updates, or if you want to maybe like ask a question to participants that you want to get their feedback on, this is a great place to do so here. This is also a great place for attendees to maybe ask you questions about the event as well. Like you can see, you can attach an image here as well. So that's going to be a really helpful feature. Whoever is assigned as a speaker, meaning those who are assigned to the event, who applied for the event, they will have this manage button, but then everyone else, all attendees, will have this section here with the add button and the notes. So attendees can make notes about your event that only they will see here. And this is also, okay, this can't be removed from my agenda because I'm a speaker, but usually as a participant, they will have a button here that has a plus sign and says add to their agenda. If it's already added, it'll look like this. Yeah, I think that's pretty much an overview of just what the event page will look like. Most of your events are actually already uploaded. So please register for the forum if you haven't already, and access this schedule so you can actually see your event already. And maybe Kit can also just put the link to registration, just so you can do so right now if you haven't already. Cool, okay, on to the next item. So next we're going to be talking about how participants can engage with your event. So one, how do they get to your event? How do they find your event? Because like Hootie said, we have 750-ish parallel events. So it is a little bit overwhelming when you do go into that agenda because there's so many of them. So I'll show you how participants can kind of filter and find your event, and then joining and registering for your event. So so this is the home screen of the virtual portal. So all of the events, including all parallel events, are under schedule and then under agenda. Just to clarify, get it out of the way right now, my agenda is where all of the sessions that you've added with the little plus sign will end up. So my agenda is where you kind of keep track of all the events that you want to attend. An agenda is the full schedule of all 750 plus events. It does take a little while to load, especially on my Wi-Fi. Cool. So here's what it looks like. As you can see, a lot of your events are already up here, and they are labeled with a little parallel event banner there. And like you can see, they can add to their My Agenda by just clicking this little button here, and it'll automatically put it in their agenda. One thing that they can do to kind of, if, for example, they know that they want to register for your event, they know your organization or the title of the event, they can definitely search for it here. If they want to put in some keywords that they know will have the event pop up, they can do so here. But they can also kind of filter by region. So if they want to see events that are hosted by organizations specifically in certain regions, they can. And they can also search by keywords, which are essentially the different topics that parallel events will address. So for example, if you're looking for all of the events on climate justice, which most of them will be because that's the priority theme this year, you can click climate justice, and then it'll show you all of the events that have climate justice. Yeah, I think that's it for this section. And as you can see what the session will kind of address with these labels down here as well. So you can also just kind of scroll through and explore that way. So as I kind of talked about before, I'll go over how attendees will actually join your event. So depending on y'all as parallel event organizers, you're going to have a link either to a registration form, how I just demonstrated before, or the link that will go directly to your event on Zoom or Google Meets or whatever it is. We highly, highly recommend setting up a registration link. If the platform that you're using, like for example, Zoom has that option to set up a registration page. But if your platform doesn't have that option, I highly recommend setting up a simple registration form, either on Eventbrite or Google Forms or something like that. And there are a couple reasons why, which I'll explain later. But just to give you a heads up on that, we really, really recommend having a registration link. So how all participants will join all events is by scrolling down to the bottom and going to the event link. And then depending on the organizer, it'll either bring them right to the event. In this case, because the event isn't happening yet, it would probably bring you to a message that says this event is happening at so-and-so time. Or it'll come up to a registration link. Participants will register. They'll get an email to a unique link for them to go to your event. And what I would recommend for all participants is that when they get that registration or the link to join their event after they register in that email they get, I recommend that they add it to the notes here so that when they when it's time to join the event, they can just go right to this event page and I click the link that they put in the notes here. So they don't have to bounce back and forth between their email and the portal. Yeah, so that's, I think, pretty much it for how participants will be engaging in different events. And this is also just helpful for y'all to know as participants in the forum yourself. So the next thing that we'll talk about is using your own virtual meeting platform. So this is Zoom, Google Meets, WebEx. You can pretty much use whatever you'd like. But we'll go over a little bit more about the registration versus direct event link. We'll talk about your speakers and having that green room beforehand. We'll go over a little bit about interpretation and starting your event. So like I said, we really, really encourage having a registration link. There are a couple of reasons for this. One is it really prevents Zoom bombing. So, and if you don't know, Zoom bombing is when kind of like random people from the internet disrupt your event in a variety of ways. They unmute themselves, they annotate and draw things on the screen, they put things in the chat. So one really great way to prevent that is by setting up a registration link. This means that people will have to go through a process to get the link and join your event, which most random Zoom bombers aren't going to go through all that. They're looking for links, direct links to events that they can find on social media and stuff. So we highly recommend setting up that registration link. So that link will be what you disseminate and what you put on social media, and that way people will have to register. Another benefit to having registration is then you can see everyone who has registered, how many people have registered, who's interested, and you'll have a way to contact those people directly, kind of have that report later. As you can see, so the registered attendees on here just means the people who have added your event to their agenda. So you can see the people who have added the event to the agenda on the portal, but that might be different from the people who actually register for your event through your registration link. So it's good to have that, registration report. Yeah, so that's why we really, it's good to have a registration link. And that will go here. And if you don't have a registration link, there are still ways to kind of manage and prevent Zoom bombing, which I'll talk about later. So if you really don't want to set up a registration link for whatever reason, there are also options for that as well. So next, so with the green room and speakers. So if you were an organizer last year, you might remember that you kind of had to send us your speakers. You had to send us your speakers because we had to link them to the event page on your portal. And the reason we had to link them was so that they could access your green room 20 minutes before your event. So then that was the only way that they could really join your event to, kind of set up beforehand. But this year, since organizers are using their own virtual meeting platform, this is kind of moot. So we don't necessarily need to know your speakers because you will be in complete control of when you can start your event, meaning when you can start your green room to kind of set things up. Beforehand, you'll be able to send them the link to the event way ahead of time. So that requirement of them being attached and connected to your event page on the portal isn't a necessity anymore. So with all that being said, there isn't a real urgency on our side to know who your speakers are. So don't worry if at this point you don't have your speakers confirmed. It's really okay. We don't have to have them in that portal anymore. So really listing your speakers will be part of that description on the event page. And it's really just for, kind of promotional, informational purpose that you can add them to your description whenever you have them confirmed. And we'll talk about how to do that later, making changes to your event. But yeah, just an overview of that. If you were not an organizer last year and everything that I just said confused you even more, don't worry about it. All you need to know is that you don't have to be worried about sending us all of your speaker details. I hope that didn't confuse anyone more. So we'll talk about interpretation, kind of similar to last year. We also had to know all of your interpreters, their languages. We had to set them up in the back end of the portal in your event. And it actually really created a lot of confusion for all parties, and there was a lot of tech issues with it as well. So this is also, kind of a lot easier. with hosting your own meeting platform, your own Zoom, Google Meets, etc., because you'll also be in complete control over your interpreters as well. So you will be able to directly go into your event, add interpreters, add their language. If you need to edit it later, it'll be easy. So you are in total control of that. And we don't necessarily need to know any of that information as well. So that's another thing that you can, kind of not worry about getting all of that information to us by a deadline as well. So that's all in your control. Just as a reminder, you absolutely can have interpretation. We do encourage you to have interpretation, but it's not, mandatory, totally up to you. And NGO CSW cannot provide you an interpreter or interpretation services. So it is totally the organizer's responsibility. And the last thing we'll talk about in this section is starting your event. So another, difference between last year and this year is that, because organizers are using their own meeting platform, you have total control of starting your event. So starting your event will be exactly like starting any other Zoom call or these virtual meetings, how I just did right now. I started this Zoom call, let people in. So that's yeah, so it's exactly the same as you would start any other event. So you don't have to worry about doing anything on the portal or having us do anything. You can just start your event and people will be able to join via the link in the event page on the portal when they start. Okay, on to the next section. So we'll talk about making changes to your event page now. So just to clarify, because we have been getting a lot of questions about this. So when you all received your acceptance emails, you received a link to a form to submit your information for your event page. The deadline being tomorrow, Friday the 28th. And I did get a question about the time deadline of that, and that's just like midnight tomorrow, the 28th. So yeah, okay, so this form, the one that's due on the 28th, is just to get your initial information on the event platform. So just the information that you want people to know at this point. Maybe your logo, the title, confirm that, a short description. If you have speaker information, you can add the speaker information to the description, any graphics or flyers or downloadable materials that you want on that page. This is the form just to get that initial information so we can build out the event page on the portal. After tomorrow, after the 28th, you then have the option to make changes to that initial information through the change request form. So if you don't have your information, all of your information ready by tomorrow, it's really not a big deal. You will absolutely have the opportunity to send us that change request form with all the any edits and all of the additional information that you want to be added to the event page. So if you don't have a flyer yet, if you don't have your confirmed speakers yet, totally fine. You don't have to include that in the form that's due tomorrow. Sorry, got distracted by the chat. And if you could please mute yourself, thanks. I'm so sorry. The chat is distracting me. I should close it. Right, so if you don't have all of your information in by the 28th, tomorrow, please don't worry. If all you can get in is just like a short blurb of your event or your logo or whatever, that's perfect. And then you will have the chance to submit one free submission of the change request form afterwards with any of the other information that you want to put on the event page. I did see a couple questions in the chat about extending tomorrow's deadline. We can't really do that because we do have to start building out these events. So just get us, whatever you can. It really doesn't have to be a lot of information. Just a little intro to your event is totally fine if that's all you have so far. And then the change request form, which is not open yet. So Kit did send the link in the chat to the change request form. That will start accepting responses after tomorrow, because you shouldn't be making any changes yet, because there really isn't any information on your event page on the portal to edit. So that link that she shared, you can definitely copy and paste that and keep it somewhere so you have it for your reference. But that will be for making any changes, submitting any additional information after tomorrow. The other thing about the change request form that we did put in the acceptance emails, and I think also in the application, is that you will get one free submission of the change request form. And then after that, each additional will be $25. This is really just because last year we got so many submissions of that change request form, and there's only like a handful of us working here. So it was a lot for us. So this is really just to kind of encourage y'all to, if you know that you're going to have a couple different changes, maybe just wait until you have all those edits finalized and submit one change request form, and then we can make all those edits on the portal. All of those edits will definitely be done before the forum, so don't worry about not getting edits in before that. The deadline to edit, I believe, is the week before the forum. And it does say in that change request form, I think, as well. Just to answer Geraldine's question, I see her question, and I can just answer that now. So Geraldine, and this is good for everyone to know, you will not have direct access to edit your event page. So we have to edit it from our end. I should have prefaced with that. So we have to edit it, which is why in the first place we have all these forms to submit us information. So this first form that's due on the 28th is just for your initial information to put on the event page that you would like to be on your page now. That is due tomorrow at midnight. And then after that, we'll open the change request form. And through that form, you can add either additional information that wasn't ready by the 28th, or any edits you might have to the information that's already on your event page. I hope that kind of cleared things up and that made sense.
Devin, I feel like we should have planned this ahead. I think you need a few minute break. This is so exhausting. I want to just interrupt you and say, do you want to catch your breath, get a sip of water or something?
Going to
Just
the
see how
toilet.
small our team is.
I am actually almost done.
Okay, good.
I think I'm cool.
All right.
I might just have you jump in to answer some of the the questions at the beginning of the Q&A.
You got it.
Yeah, so I think that's everything that you need to know about the change request form and stuff. Yeah, and all the deadlines. And I hope that makes sense and that clarifies some things. But if not, feel free to ask again during the Q&A session and I'll go over it again. I know it's a little bit confusing. So the pretty much last thing that we'll talk about is safety and security at your event. So with y'all using your own virtual meeting platforms, we really want to support you in this and make sure that you have everything you need to, have a secure event, meaning preventing Zoom bombing, stuff like that, disruptors, but also just creating kind of a safe space for participants and yourselves during these meetings. So I'll start by saying that less interaction of participants is going to be your most secure option. So this is going to be how you're going to most effectively prevent disruptions, Zoom bombing, stuff like that. So essentially, if you disable all of the settings that allow participants to engage, that'll be your best bet. So you can disable the chat or the Q&A. If you're using Zoom, you might want to consider using a webinar instead of a meeting. A webinar is essentially like you have a panel of speakers who speak. It's like a kind of like a lecture type setup. There is a Q&A option for webinar, so participants can still kind of comment and ask questions, but they can't unmute themselves. They can't turn their video on. So there's a lot less interaction there. And if you are using a meeting or a different meeting platform, you can make the settings so that they can't unmute themselves or turn their video on, but maybe they can still put messages in the chat and things like that. So this unfortunately does limit participant engagements with your event, but you might want to consider some of these security options if you're worried about disruptors or anything like that. However, there are still things that you can do to create a secure event while still giving participants the opportunity to engage. So kind of like what we're doing right now, I have some members of my team monitoring the chat, muting anyone who unmutes themselves by accident, spotlighting speakers so that with Zoom specifically, who you're looking at in the speaker view often toggles to whoever speaks. So if someone unmutes themselves, it'll automatically show their video. And if it's an accident, it can be disruptive. So spotlighting speakers keeps it so that everyone is looking at this person, no matter who unmutes themselves and talks. So you can have designated members of your team kind of assigned to managing these things to keep everything kind of nice and secure. And in the same vein, having those members of your team kind of prepared to remove any disruptors, respond to them in the chat, maybe having kind of a procedure of what to do in that case. And we do have our virtual safety guidelines, which will be sent in the chat at some point. And they're also all over our website and our portal, so I'm sure you'll find them if you need to. So we do expect that parallel organizers do enforce these virtual safety guidelines and follow them. You also should have all seen these and read these when you applied. Pretty sure you had to read them to actually submit your application. So there are definitely options for still having like that secure event and having that security while still allowing participants to interact and engage in the event. So some of those things are, like I said before, require registration for your event. If you aren't going to require registration, if your link to your event is just a direct link right to the call, don't publish that link online, because that's like the easiest way that Zoom bombers can disrupt your event. So I would really, really not recommend posting your direct event link on like Twitter or something like that. Yeah, so in the case that you don't have a registration link, I would really promote to your networks and your constituency to really register for the forum, go through the portal to join your event through the event link on your event page, to kind of prevent kind of random people on the internet finding the link and joining. Another thing you can do, and this is a very common method for Zoom bombers, is that they'll rename themselves with other people who are in the call. So you can't tell who's the imposter, essentially. So you can disable the setting where participants can rename themselves. You can disable participants' ability to screen share, which I would highly recommend anyway. And you can disable participants' ability to unmute themselves during non-interactive parts of your event. So like similar to this kind of event that we're doing now, if there's a presentation section and then there's a Q&A or a discussion or breakout rooms at the end, you can have the setting set to keep participants from unmuting themselves during the presentation section. And then you can change that setting once it gets time to the discussion or Q&A section. And the last thing is protecting participants and creating a safe space. So if one thing is to essentially allow participants to keep themselves anonymous if they wish. You know, human rights defenders, this can apply to minors, you know, people who want their identity protected. This is a good option. Make sure that you tell your participants and that they're aware if you're recording your event and where you're going to put that event, the recording, and what you're going to use it for. And similarly, if you want to take screenshots or photos, make sure that your participants know about it. And if they don't want to be part of that photo, they can turn their video off or they can hop off the call. But just make sure that everyone is aware of what you're doing, just in case they want to kind of maintain that privacy and anonymity. And the only other thing I have are other resources that are going to be super helpful for parallel event organizers like yourselves. So the first, and Kit's going to put these links in the chat as well, so you have the links right there. The first is just a general FAQ for the NGO CSW66 Forum. I recommend reading the whole thing, but there's a specific section for parallel event organizers at the bottom. So at least check out that. We have a parallel event tutorial video. So this is like screen recording of doing everything essentially that you need to do as a parallel event organizer. It shows the change request form. It shows the event page. So this is also a really good kind of shorter resource for y'all if you need like a recap and just want, you know, and a visual aid as well. And the last two are kind of go hand in hand. The virtual safety guidelines are actually embedded in the safe and secure experience document. And this document, which I can actually pull up is pretty much all the information I just told you about creating a secure event. If it would load. So that just goes over just how to have a safe experience, also as a participant and a parallel event organizer. So this is a great resource for you to kind of go over the stuff that I just talked about in those last few slides. Yeah, and I think that's it on my end. And I think we will move on to the Q&A section. Yes, okay. All right, so I would say if you can raise your hand. If you don't know how, you can do so by clicking the reactions button at the bottom of the screen and then clicking raise hand. If you can't raise your hand or speak for whatever reason, you can add your question in the chat. And if I could just ask Hootie to kind of jump in here for me, that'd be great.
Absolutely. Let's start with Lisa. She was the first to raise the hand. And I know there's a lot of hands, so please keep it short. And I know a lot of the questions are going to be repeats. So if you hear your question asked already, bring your hand down. Go ahead, Lisa.
Thank you. Thank you so much to everybody and all the great work you're doing. Quick question, on the sample parallel event page, the top is a speaker. We don't have all of our speakers lined up yet. Would it be possible to put the organization name and our organization logo there instead of a speaker?
Absolutely. And this question came up so many times, and Devin already said, you don't have to have your speakers then. We are also organizers. I don't have my speakers yet, right? So it's impossible to confirm speakers this much in advance. One of the things I said, and if I'm wrong, Devin, please step in. It is so important, I think, if you're going to do lots of changes, have a link of the front page of your website, or you can create links that can, just be your flyer that you can edit on your own, that you don't have to ask us to edit, and give us that link that you can have access to. I hope that made sense. Yes, go ahead, Devin.
Yeah, so actually in the form that is due tomorrow, one of the questions is to provide us an event link. So we do need that tomorrow. If you can't get it to us tomorrow, it's not a big deal. But ideally, we would like that there. Yeah, so that form will have the question to send the event link in, whether it's a Zoom link or other platforms. And I also had one other comment. Oh, yes. So where it says speakers on the top of that event page, technically what it is people who are assigned to that event. So it will most likely be automatically there. It will most likely be the person or people who are indicated in the application of your event, the contact people. There will be an option in the change request form to add speakers if you do want them in that space, but just be aware that if you do want a speaker in that space where it says speakers and you want their picture and be able to click on their profile, they need a profile. They need to be registered for the forum and have a profile on the portal before you submit that request. We can't add someone there if they don't have a profile. But I would really recommend just having your speakers listed in the description of your event. I think that's just kind of way easier. And there's less potential for kind of weird tech things.
Exactly. So use your event page to promote yourself and your organization and your topic and all of those things. And then the link is really for registration and all the other information, so that you have back-end access, if you want to call it that, to change it anytime. Now, we are saying that we're not being mean here when we say we don't want to make any changes. We're willing to make some changes, but we can't make 750 parallel event, 8 changes per organization, per event. We just could not manage that. The reason tomorrow is a hard deadline is because our IT person, we have one IT person who's going to upload all this, and she's going to need at least a week or two to upload, and you want your information. I saw so many questions that said, when is my information going to be up? Well, we're going to put them up as soon as we get them, and it will happen. I'm going to go to the next question, if that's okay, Lisa.
And actually, I'm just going to jump in here and reiterate again. So I see some questions about like, is the Zoom link the registration link? What's the difference between registration link, event link? So I was kind of explaining before, you have 2 options. You can either send us a link that will bring you to a registration page. If you are using Zoom, for example, Zoom meetings, you can set up a registration and then that'll be the link to your event. And it'll be embedded within your Zoom account. If you're using a platform that does not have that option, where there's a possibility to set up registration within that platform, I highly recommend setting up a registration form, either like through Eventbrite or Google Forms or something like that. And that will be the link that you send to us to add on your event page. So it's really up to you if you want to set up a registration link. The other alternative is a link that goes directly to your event. But like I said before, there are potential issues with that, such as Zoom bombing, and just more potential for disruptors. And when you have registration link, you'll also have a list of everyone who registered, and their emails maybe, or if you wanted to ask them certain questions beforehand and kind of get some feedback from them, the registration link is a great way to do that. So I hope that kind of clarified a bit.
Yeah. All right. And Lisa, yes, it is possible to change that. Everything can be edited on the portal thanks to Devin's genius.
Well, and I just want to, everything can be edited, but y'all can't edit it.
Oh yeah.
You have to edit it. Yeah. So if you do have to change anything on your event page, you can do so through that change request form, and we can make those changes.
That's right. That's right. Thanks for that clarification, because I'm sometimes like, all right, let's go to James Pennell, and please, let's do it quick. We have 15 hands. I mean, we're here for a while, so another half an hour, but let's do this quickly. James, you have the floor.
Yeah, Hudi, very, very quick question. I think is one that's posted in the chat. Just in terms of logos and branding, are we able to use NGO CSW's branding? I see it behind you there. And if so, are there brand guidelines?
Yes, so you are able to use the NGO CSW Forum logo. I can post, so you can use the Forum logo, but not the NGO CSW New York logo, which is what's behind Hudi. I will put in the chat a link to our Trello for the forum, which has a bunch of graphics, including the logo that you can add to your promotional materials. And also we have a virtual background if you want to use that during the forum. And I think a couple other things too. So I'll put that in the chat.
All right. Thank you, Devin. And yes, please do use the forum logo. We have a beautiful logo. Let's go to Lindsay Reynolds.
Thanks, Huri. Thanks, Devin. Thanks so much for organizing this. I just have a question. Currently, when we log into our event page, are we supposed to see, for instance, I'm the event organizer and I registered a co-organizer. Are we supposed to see us as speakers currently, or should we be able to see that manage button yet? It's not showing up for me. That's why I'm asking.
You should, I believe, but either email us at parallelevents@ngocsw.org, or you can submit in that form that's due tomorrow. I believe there's like a comment section at the bottom that you can say, just let us know that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, we don't have all the info up yet because we don't have your forms, your acceptance forms yet. So we uploaded what the information that we have, and sometimes let's go to Maria Murray.
Hi, thank you very much. I have two questions about the registration. We'll be using Zoom, as I'm assuming many people will be using Zoom. The only people who will be able to access a registration link would be people already registered for the NGO Forum. The reason I ask this is, okay, so there we go. I see you shaking your head, so that's useful.
Yeah.
We anticipate, I hope not, but we are anticipating that many of our viewers will not actually go into the portal. Does that make sense? That they will?
Absolutely, that's absolutely fine. And that's one of the reasons why we did it this way this year, sacrificing the numbers we can show on our portal, which really obviously is not the most important thing. Your event is more important, and you have complete access to your event. The reason the portal is important is because more people will see and recognize and want to be part of your event. So you get our constituents, and you can have your own constituents that doesn't have to register, which of course is free, as you know, to register.
Thank you. And just to follow up to that, because we'll be using our platform, we can also then Zoom it to Facebook Live or YouTube, because we have control.
Whatever you want.
Yes,
NBC,
definitely.
CBS, ABC, Paris. Yes, you can stream it anywhere you want. Thank you, Maria. We're going to move on quickly to Aida Ibrahimi. Aida, I'll wait. You're probably distracted. Shayla, Raw Mystery.
Thank you, Hori. Excellent event. Thank you,
Good to
everyone.
see you.
Helping. Hi, Devin. Thank you for all your help. So very quickly, last year on our event page, we had the picture of the flyer in addition to event description. Do we still have that?
Yes, so the event description, you can embed graphics within it. So if you want any graphics in there, it'll show, on the.
It'll show up right there. So because people like pictures, they decide by that. So thank you for that. Second thing is, there are questions pertaining to our account, like are my keywords right? I don't see the manage button. Those are separate questions to asking for changes, right? Yeah. So can you please address that?
Yeah, so if you're having any like tech issues or any questions, please feel free to email us at parallelevents@ngocsw.org. I just put it in the chat as well. Yeah, so if you have any questions at all, feel free to email us. But if you do have like content changes, we will ask you to fill out the form if you email us those. But yeah, but either way, it can't hurt to email us. And if it is something that needs to go through the forum, we'll just reply and send you the link to the forum. So.
Yeah, that manage button is really critical, because last time I didn't have it. So I'm glad someone else brought it up. Thank you, both of you.
Yep.
Thank you. And if you can lower your hand, let's go to Louisa Renaud.
Hi, everybody, and thank you very much for this great meeting. Very useful. Thank you so much. I have two questions, basically. The first one is whether, if we have selected that we would use a Zoom link initially when we applied, are we supposed to use a Zoom link, or should we be able, for example, to use a Google link? Because regarding your what you recommended on the safety issues, I am thinking about using my Google professional platform, which is more secure for me than a global Zoom. So would it be considered as a change request, or that it doesn't mind or?
Nope, you can just send us the link that you'll be using. It doesn't really matter what platform it is. And
Okay.
it
Because
definitely
I think
doesn't matter
I selected Zoom initially, but
Mhm.
if it's a Google, it's okay.
Yeah,
If it's a Google,
absolutely. If you
link.
end up
Okay.
using a different platform than when you
Okay.
applied, that's totally okay. That question was more just to get a sense of like which platforms people
Okay.
were using in order to provide like support information. So yeah, totally fine.
And
Thank
also it
you.
was our way of saying these are the examples like of the platforms you can use.
Okay, great, thank you. And my second question is, my event will be almost in French, but we may translate it if we have people requested English. So should I write the title and the description of my event in French plus English or only in English? What is your recommendation about this?
It really
I
is
think
up
it's
to
really
you.
up to you. Yeah. I think maybe if you're providing translation, I would add the description in English as well. But if you're not, maybe just leave it in French,
Yeah.
just to kind of like show people that the event will be in French. Yeah, but ultimately it's up to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes. And we've had in the past, and this year also, we expect many languages. So your event can be in any language it wants. And I know this came up earlier. We just can't afford to translate or bring interpreters. And I'm going to go back to Aida Ibrahimi. Are you here? Or I can just lower your hand and move on to Vina Arigi. I hope I said your name right.
Yes. Hi. I just want to answer one question. Is there any difference between last year's program and this year's? Are there any differences, or is it exactly like last year?
The platform is the same. The portal itself is the same. The program is completely different because last year we addressed other topics. This year is climate justice. Every single parallel event is a little different. If that answers your question, but the portal itself, we're using the same thing because people who showed up got used to it, and we didn't want to change it, even though it's expensive.
Oh, thank you.
All right, Doris Ikbizi. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Thank you.
Hi,
Go ahead.
everyone. Yeah, I think my own question is not very far from what a lot of people have just asked. I'm sorry I had to ask this again. If you have a mistake, if you made a mistake in the form, what do you do? There was a mistake in the time zone for me. I wrote 4 a.m. West African time, which is night. I also want to know if I want to correct that error, do I need to wait till after the 28th before I can correct it? Thank you.
So if you if you mean that, so in the acceptance email, your event is scheduled for a time that you can't make. You don't have to worry about submitting a change request. Just email us at parallelevents@ngocsw.org. I'll put it in the chat again, and we'll make those schedule edits directly.
I think Heiki Kaller. I definitely messed up your name. Sorry. Go ahead.
Good evening, everybody, or a warm evening from Hamburg, Germany. I'm from the SAR Foundation. Maybe you know us. My colleague Josephine Brecht is also in the forum. I have two questions. You know, we have participated last year, and we are now in second time with a virtual platform, and we would like to register tomorrow as well. And I have one question. As you know, the SAR Foundation, we host the event, the parallel event, in collaboration with 4 other partner organizations. So which means we have to give a lot of names of the speakers, of logos, and so on. So my question is, how is it possible that you can, let's say, make it in one line so that you know which organization the logo is in according to the speakers, or because last time I could give some priority, or I could do it by myself, but this year you have to do it.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons why we're saying, especially if you have a lot of information you want to share, and that's absolutely fine. You want to have 15 partners, best to use your own link and your own flyer that people can go to, and then you can edit it. Devin, if you need to add anything to that.
Yeah, in that case, if you do want to add like certain graphics to be lined up in certain ways, I would definitely recommend maybe like creating a flyer, how you want it kind of set up, and then we can just embed that flyer on the event page, and then you'll be able to see it. Or alternatively, and this applies to all event pages, graphics can be embedded in the description, but there's also a tab for files. So if you wanted to attach like a PDF of your program, maybe with speakers, bios, and photos and stuff, you can also attach that, but that just won't come up visibly. They'll have to download it.
Okay.
Yes.
And may I ask, and I have one more question, Devin, is it possible to show a photo of the speakers? Or is there any, because the speakers, last time it was that the speakers had to register themselves as an attendee. So there was a link from the speaker to the attendee, so they could click on the speaker, and then they had the, let's say, all the information from this speaker person to their attendee, to their own account. Is this the same this year?
Right, so you can do that through the change request form. You can let us know which speakers that you would like to be linked to the event page.
Exactly.
But they do like, before you submit it, I would just make sure that they are already registered with a profile on the portal, because we can't add them that way if they don't already have a profile. And that was a big issue last year, was we would get a lot of speaker names and they wouldn't have a profile, and maybe we'd have to make sure that they created one. But you can also just like the other options, creating a flyer with their photos, or having the program with all of their information as well. If they like don't want to make a profile or whatever, there are different options.
Sorry, one more question. So this means they have to register first with their own account, and then we will send the request on the event to make the link. Is this correct?
Yes. Yeah. So
okay,
I would just make sure that that all of the speakers that you send to us to add embedded on the event page already have a profile, so that there's a profile that we can attach.
Okay. Very helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to quickly respond to somebody who messaged me privately. I guess I can respond here too. I mean, but it's about applying for Indico. I mean, people are still confused about Indico, which is UN Women and UN and NGO CSW. You don't need your NGO's approval to get on our platform or register or be part of the portal. Only if you're adding your name to the email list on Indico, which, as you know, there's no passes to UN this year. It's just email list. Let's go to Yasmin, who's been helping us in the chat too. Go ahead, Yasmin, you have the floor.
Hello, Huri. Hello, Devin. Thank you guys so much for this meeting. It's so helpful, and great job, both of you. I'm really appreciative of everything. So I'm going to be really quick. There's just 2 questions that I have. First off, so when we applied, I'm the second organizer for the session. And so when I go into the session itself as an organizer, am I able to moderate as well? Or is it only the main organizer that does that?
You mean in the actual event?
Yeah, so I'm in the application, I'm the second organizer. And so when the event is starting,
yes,
on the Zoom link, I'm able to moderate as well?
So we have no connection to your actual event when you start it. So it's totally up to like y'all as the organizers to make each other co-hosts and stuff like that. There's no restrictions like connected through the portal.
Okay, I thought it was connected in that way, but now it's like separate from the Zoom link.
Yeah, it's totally separate now.
It's totally separate. All right.
Yep, exactly.
Amazing. All right, so another thing, so the zero draft recommendations, in the email, I know that we're able to like send a few recommendations to that as well and make some amendments or some recommendations.
That's an advocacy question, right?
Yeah, for like the ARG, Hootie.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I can answer quickly, but I see all the hands and we have 15 minutes left.
Sure.
You can definitely send us recommendations and honestly use info@ngocsw.org.
Yeah, exactly.
We already submitted our version, but we'd love it. We'd love more input. So yes, please
Amazing.
do. Okay.
Amazing. Just wanted to ask that. All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for doing all that. And
And
now we're
let
going
me
to go
just wait. Sorry,
go ahead.
Hootie. Let me just jump in because I'm seeing more questions about the deadline for tomorrow. So just to reiterate again, tomorrow, the form that's due tomorrow is just to get some initial information to add to your event page. Right now, the pages exist on the portal, but they're practically empty besides like the title and the organization name. So this first form that's due tomorrow that Kit just put in the chat, thank you, Kit, is just for like any information that you might have right now that you want on the portal. So this, if you have more information that you're not going to have ready for tomorrow, it's not a big deal. No worries, because then after tomorrow, that change request form will open and that'll be available to accept edits. So if you have additional information that you weren't able to submit by the 28th, tomorrow, that deadline, you can add any other additional information that you need on your page through that change request form, including any like edits or anything. The change request form, you will have one free submission of that change request form, meaning that you have this form submission that's due tomorrow, and then another form that you can submit for free. So if you can't get your stuff in tomorrow and you still have to submit one change request form, that'll be free. But any additional submissions of that change request form, which will open after tomorrow, that will be a $25 fee. So kind of make sure that you have most of your stuff ready and like compile all the edits and information that you want to submit during that for that change request form, and send all of the edits that you have through that one form. Because there are multiple questions and you can edit the different sections through the change request form. So you can definitely like have several edits in the one form submission. The deadline to submit a change is like the week before the forum. So you have a while. And yeah, so if you don't have a flyer, if you don't have all your speakers set up, if you if you have any information that totally isn't going to be ready for tomorrow, please don't worry, and you'll definitely be able to submit them through the change request forms. And I saw a question in the chat, and the change request form can totally be for any edits. If you want to remove something, if you need tweaking of grammar or title or whatever, but it can also be additional information as well. So essentially just general updates for whatever is already on that portal, but we just need the form that's due tomorrow to put information on that portal, because right now it's pretty empty.
Thank you. Paula Tuilio.
Hi, Huri. Thank you very much. And thank you, Devon, for organizing this massive work. I have 3 questions. How many co-organizers can we have per organization that can change the event page? Also, we received the email of acceptance of the event with a time. But then when I go to our event in the platform, it's 1 hour earlier. So just wanted to ask if it's because the time changes in March. And that might be that the platform is already, you know, sync with the time changes, but I just wanted to ask you that. And also that in case we need to change the Zoom link, this is a change that can be done through the form. Because sometimes, you know, the link needs to be specifically with some characteristics and so on. So these are my 3 questions. Thank you.
Yes, so the one about the portal times, that's a great question. So the times that show up on the portal, they automatically convert to your time zone. So it's just showing the time that's in your time zone. The time that you received in your acceptance email is in New York time. Perfect. So if they don't necessarily match up on the portal, it's because it automatically converted to your time zone. So if you have some confusion about that, you know, feel free to shoot us an email, but also just double check what the time zone is too, because that's probably what.
Perfect.
Organizers.
Organizers, technically it can be unlimited amount of people. And the last
it's your link, Paula, don't forget, it's your link. Then you can do whatever you want with it.
Okay, yes. But to change information and everything, because I put 2 colleagues as co-organizers and I cannot change anything. And I am the one like doing all this kind of background stuff for the event.
Yep, so you can have, you can change those people who have those that access, and it can technically be an unlimited amount of people on that event page. And you can definitely send us an updated event link if you need to. I would recommend though, and I think we got a question about this in the chat too. I would recommend getting your registration link or event link in tomorrow. If you feel like maybe you're going to have to change that link after tomorrow, I would maybe wait and send it in the change request form, just because if it is a registration link, people might already go on your event page and register. And then they're going to be trying to access your event when it's time for your event with an old link instead of a new one. So I would, avoid changing the link as much as you can. And if you do think that you're going to have to change it for whatever reason, maybe wait until you're like absolutely sure this is the one.
Great, thank you.
Yes, Cynthia, March 13, daylight saving time. The UN always does that to us. All right, let's move to Aida Ibrahimi.
I'm so sorry. I had some trouble to turn on my microphone before. Sorry about that.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much for organizing the event and everything you're doing. I just wanted to check something. We are going to provide our event link to you, and this is the only connection our event is going to connect to the platform, right?
Wait, could you repeat that? There was some.
No, I understood, Hudi.
Okay, go ahead, Devin. I got distracted.
But yes, so last year, if you were participating last year, all of the parallel events were kind of embedded in the portal. So this year, essentially, instead of having the events in the portal like that, it's almost like a listing of all of your events with all the information and also some, opportunities for interaction with participants on the portal. But essentially, it's just kind of putting the information in one place, including your event link and all of that. So correct, the only real, like your actual event is not going to be connected to the portal
Got you.
Yeah.
This is the only way that you are connecting us to your portal is through our event link. And if you want to have a register link, we are going to send that to you as well.
Exactly.
Okay. And we are going to do our green room and everything ourselves.
Yep, exactly. So you'll have total control of everything in the back end of your event, all of the tech stuff. Yes. And I think there was a question in the chat too about this at some point that I'll reiterate. Because this is how we're doing it this year, you can technically send your event link, whether it's a registration link or the direct link to the event, to your networks, your constituencies, whoever, to join your event. That way, they don't necessarily have to register for the forum and make a profile and go that way. Of course, we do encourage them to do so because that's how they can see the rest of the events. But if it's someone who is just joining your event, you can send them your link directly. So that's another kind of helpful thing that's happening this year.
And the last question, last year you had our flyer in our event page.
Mm-hmm.
Now you said you can do that, or you can just put the link in.
You can. So there's two ways that you can. Let me rephrase that. So in the event description, you can embed graphics like image graphics like JPEGs or PNGs, and that will show up as the flyer. So you definitely can do that. If you send us your flyer in a PNG, JPEG, any image form, we'll be able to embed it in the event description. But another option, for example, if you want to send a PDF or something like that, that will be in a separate place under files where people can still download it, but they won't be able to see the full thing embedded on your event page.
Got you. Thank you so very much.
We have 4 minutes left and I have 2 people. I need Ndea Fall to ask her question and then Damien, and then we're gonna have to say goodbye. Ndea, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I wanted just to say that, of course, thank you for all the work that has been done, but is it possible to get all the information that we've got orally? Can we get it? Can we get it in writing? Because my people, they don't really speak English.
Mm-hmm.
So if we get it in writing, it's going to be easier for me to explain afterwards in French. And I'm the only one who could participate to this session. And I'm an elderly person. And all these technical things, I do not really master. And I need time to understand, these things.
Yes, so all of this, first of all, the recording of this, which will be, the recording on YouTube will have closed captioning in all 6 UN languages. And also all of the information that I've shared is already in writing. In your acceptance emails, you can find a lot of these resources, but also I'll just show you now where to find all of this. We'll also send a MailChimp with the recording and all of the resources and all of the information we shared to our full mailing list, so you should all get it. But if you need to find something and you can't find it for whatever reason, it's all on our website. So if you go to our website and go to this NGO CSW Forum tab and scroll down to the FAQ section, there's this question that is about resources for parallel event organizers specifically. And you can read the FAQs, you can see the sample event page, the change request form is here, tutorial video. We're coming out with a just general participant tutorial video, which will essentially be a tutorial of the virtual portal, which will be helpful, and the safe and secure experience document as well. So this is a good place to go if you just need to get to something quickly. Yes, good question.
And can we get some of these resources in French?
Unfortunately, we don't have the resources for translation.
You can easily Google Translate. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Damien.
Thank you. Mine is more of an administrative question. So for those not listed as organizers or co-organizers on the platform, does it matter if they are not and they've submitted the event description, as long as they have the event number? Is that okay? Will that still be registered? That's my question.
I'm sorry, can you just repeat it?
Right, so for example, you're not listed as in the application, right? As a co-organizer or an organizer, but you're like admin staff. And so you've listed the, the event description Google form. You've done that. Does it matter? Will it be?
No, that's totally fine. Totally fine.
Okay, as long as you have the event number, right?
Yep. Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
yep.
Great.
We'll definitely be able to find it. Yep.
Thanks.
All right, at 2:31, we took care of all the hands, and I know some of you still have questions. Please pay attention to the email that Devin will be sending out with the recordings. There's at least 3 different ways that you can review all of this. Re-listening to this session, looking at her tutorial video, the FAQs, the PowerPoint. I mean, yeah, and just pay attention to the details. I don't think hopefully, and if you have questions, of course, email info@ngocsw.org. Yes, the FAQ link will be in that too. Devin, you have the final say before we hang up.
Yeah, so the only thing that I wanted to close with is we have 2 more of these training sessions for the forum. So the next one that we're having a week from today, the 3rd of February, which I think is a week from today, is a training specifically for exhibitors. So if you've applied for an exhibit booth, or if you're thinking about applying for an exhibit booth, feel free to join that session. And then on February 17th, as part of our monthly meeting, we're going to have a general, just full training on everything you need to know for the forum in general. So I definitely recommend joining that as well, because we'll go over some more things like advocacy stuff, the different aspects of the forum. And the last thing is definitely register for the forum. If you're not registered for the forum, you will not have access to your event page on the portal. You need to have a profile in the portal. So I can put that registration link one more time. And everybody register. And if you have any other questions for us, please feel free to email us. The email was sent in the chat a couple times as well. And you should be getting an email from us in a couple days with the recording of this and all the information that we shared as well. Thank you all for joining.
Everyone. See you next week or whenever.
Bye.